I've read old articles. You know, you come off of 104. You didn't steal 163. You altered your game a little bit for your body, maybe. I'm asking you that question, but you go to the World Series. Your philosophy as the captain in 63, spring training to the World Series. You're the guy in Vero Beach coming off of going home when you guys didn't think you were going to be coming home.
That's right. You know, and that can tear a team
They're
apart.
expecting you to steal 100 bases. You know that. I mean, people, fans, sports writers.
Yeah. They're looking for me to do.
Yeah.
I was the leader of the team. I had to be the leader. The saying was in L.A., the way Maury goes, the Dodgers go.
Yep.
And so every game I had to be up for it. There was no such thing as going to the ballpark saying, well, I'm tired today, or whatever, or, you know, well, I'm going to give it the best I can.
Right.
No, none of that. It was, we're going to do it. So, but I like the responsibility. Walter Austin gave me that responsibility. I remember he was probably the finest man I ever met. Two instances. One time, my locker was just outside of his office.
Okay. I
could see right in his office. There was a sports writer, and then he was being real nice to him, giving him a nice interview and everything. Yeah, I'm like this. He can't wait for that sports writer to leave. When the sports writer left, I charged him and said, Skipper, you was so nice to that man. Did you read the sports page today where he was cutting you up? He said, yeah, I read it. I said, well, why are you so nice to him? He said, Maury, it's no big deal.
Wow.
You know, and I walked out. Man, what a guy. You know, there's no such thing. Nobody.
That's rare.
Yeah, it's rare.
That's real rare.
Oh, man, I had so much respect for him. And that's one of the reasons I busted my butt. Every inning, every game, I played for Walter Austin. And there were times when if we had home, and for instance, and let's say the score is tied, and it's the bottom of the ninth, and our leadoff hitter gets on first. What you do? You sacrifice him over second. Stay out of the double play, sacrifice, get him in the scoring position.
Okay.
And hope one of the next two guys can drive him in. And he bunted me over one time. And I went to him afterwards and said, Skip, if I'm on first in a situation like that, I said, you don't have to bunt me over. I'll steal it. Then you can bunt me to third. I said, I won't let you down. I know the consequences if I get caught.
I understand.
I said, and I'll be honest with you, if the guy's tough. He said, really? Okay. And from that time on, for the rest of my career, I would be in situations where I'm on first and I'm the winning run.
Right.
Nobody out, got to get me over. He let me steal it.
Take a couple pitches, let him get the second.
Yeah, and then bunt me over to third.
And the catcher knows that you're going to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah. But I was just thinking, for a person to have that kind of confidence and trust in
As much as you respected him, if Smokey was sitting here and we were in Miami of Ohio, he respected his captain.
Yeah, he really, he was a fine man. Now, there were a couple of times I can remember when he said, what about this guy? I said, well, this guy can be a little tricky, Skip. He said, okay, I'll bunt you over. And he appreciated that.
You only got caught 13 times.
Yeah. And you know, it was actually...
You get where I'm going.
It was less times than that. Because at least 5 times it was a hit and run. So the hit and run, it's a cardinal sin to get picked off on a hit and run, so you shorten up a little.
Okay.
And then you make sure the pitcher goes, then you rely on the batter to make contact. If the batter doesn't make contact, you're just a lame duck out there. And that happened. And that's when I went to him and said, Skip, you don't have to bunt me.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
I said, let me go like I'm stealing, even if it is a sacrifice.
I feel you.
He said.
All right.
And they never got me again after that. I loved it. My relationship is where I'm talking. I'm not talking about how good I was as a base stealer as much as I'm talking about how much I admired him and the communication we had.
If instead of going the success, the times caught stealing, the failures, was there the toughest pitcher, or was there the best pitching coach that had his pitchers, like a staff? Was it, where was your weakness? Since you were the best, it's only that's the same questions that have always been asked you. Where, when you failed, was it because it was an exceptional pitcher, a left-hander? Was it a pitching coach that had his staff on this Wills guy? Where did your failure come in? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. Without sounding too arrogant,
Right.
there was no.
I love you, man. You know, my grandpop's dead and gone,
Yeah.
but not today. Not today.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
There was none. So we're in St. Louis,
Okay.
and Roger Maris had just broken Babe Ruth's record, home run record,
Yep.
and it became controversial
Mhm.
because of the amount of games and whatever.
Yep.
So the-
154 versus 162.
Yeah, so the writers came up to me before the game and said, Maury, we just talked to the commissioner, Commissioner Ford Frick at the time. I said, yeah? He said, yeah. He said, if you don't still break Ty Cobb's record in the same amount of games Cobb played, they're not going to recognize it. I said, oh, okay, no big deal. I'm just trying to win ball games. Well, how many did Cobb have? He said, well, he had 96. Okay, what's that 90? How many did I have? He said, you got 95. I said, okay. No big deal. We're just trying to win ball games. How many games did he play? He said, well, he got 90. He had 94, 90 something in 100 and
54.
154.
Yep.
Now, actually, it was 157. He said 156 games because it was a 154 game schedule.
Right.
And they played 2 extra games, and each one of those extra games, Cobb
Counted.
stole a base.
Interesting.
And he said, so it's 156 games.
I got you.
And I said, okay, how many games did we play? He said, we played at 155. I said, and so tonight it's 156? They said, yeah. And that's how many bases did he have? He said he had 90,
95.
95. And I said, well, how many I got? He said, you got 94. I said, oh, man. I said, you mean I got to get 2, then 1 to tie and 1 to break? He said, yeah. Why didn't the commissioner tell me this a week ago? I could have stolen 10, 15 more bases by now. I was laying back to I was embarrassing those guys so much. They said, well, he just came out with that announcement. I said, okay, well, I got to get 2 today, huh? 1 to tie and 1 to break. I said, who's pitching for the Cardinals? They said, I hope he doesn't get mad when he sees this on film.
Not Big Bob.
No, they said Kurt Simmons.
Oh, he lives close by me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell Kurt I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. But Kurt's a left-hander.
Yeah.
And Kurt was not a problem for me. They said Kurt Simmons. I said, oh, okay. So I started feeling good about that. All right. I'm going to be all right. I can get 1 and I could get my hits off of him, too, and bunt.
Sure.
So now, we took infield practice, batting practice, and we in there changing sweatshirts, getting ready to go back for the game. And one of my teammates came in out of breath. Maury, what? He said, Kurt Simmons not going to pitch. I said, no, why? He said, because he got hurt. And I said, well, who's pitching for him? They said, Larry Jackson. And Larry Jackson was the toughest guy.
I know Larry Jackson.
And when writers ask me who was the easiest
Right.
and who was the toughest, I wouldn't tell them who the easiest was because I didn't want that make that guy mad.
You're not making him look good. Yeah.
Right, and I didn't want to know who the toughest was because I didn't want to give him that much
The edge.
edge, see?
I get it.
But it was Larry Jackson, but I never admitted it. So they said, who's pitching? He said, Larry Jackson. I said, oh, my God. Later on, I realized I think they did that on purpose. Jackson said, give me the ball. So I said, no, for some reason, I had that good feeling. I'll still get it, even off of Larry Jackson. And the St. Louis fans were pulling for me. Go, Maury,
no
go,
disrespect,
go.
but you saw it with Derek Jeter because he's a lovable guy.
Mm-hmm.
Before Derek Jeter, I told you I did my homework on you.
Mm-hmm.
You had the whole country pulling for you.
Yeah.
Even Giants fans, pulled for Maury Will. They didn't pull for the Dodgers,
No,
but they did pull for Maury.
you're right.
I mean, I'm just-
Absolutely right.
But a lot of that's your interviews, your persona. You give off love or kindness.
Yeah.
And then you're exciting.
Yeah, they like the way I play. I agree with you. Thank you.
It's the truth.
Thanks, Andy. Now we get out there and
Jackson's
play.
on the mound.
And boy, he went into his act. Boy, Jackson had a little bit of a bark move and got away with it. But I didn't want to complain. Champions don't complain because somebody else has got a little idiosyncrasy. You find a way to get them anyhow if you're a real champion. So I got him anyway. I'm going to make this long story short.
Sure.
And the St. Louis fans were pulling for me. Maury, Maury, go, go, go. And then when Jackson threw over there, I stole the first time I got on. And then I'm on again just at the end of the game. I tied it. Now I got it. I didn't want to get that far and tie it. You know, to tie a record
I understand.
that's that long too, it's nice, but it's not like breaking it. So when I got to that, Walter Austin had already told me before the game, said, go out there and break that record, kid. That's what Smokey said to me personally. I said, okay, Skip. And so I wanted to break it. And Jackson threw over there 20-some times. Bill White, the first baseman who later became the president of the National League when they had 2 leagues, was pounding on my head with the mitt on the 10 pickoffs and threatening me. He said, better stay close. And so the St. Louis fans were booing Larry Jackson. And finally Jackson went in there and he went home and I took off. But before I took off, I decided straight steal wasn't going to do it. I used a delay steal, which was a trick steal.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I was good enough that I didn't have to use a delay steal, ever. But I used it this time. You know, delay steal is something that I never thought of doing because I was so much better
I understand.
than the pitcher's ability to hold me that I didn't need this delay steal because delay steal is a trick steal. But one day, Al Campanis, who the late Al Campanis,
Sure.
fine man, taught me everything I know about the game. I love him.
His son, his grandson,
I know his
all
son
baseball.
Jimmy, yes. Now, what happened was, Al was the director of scouting,
Okay.
and he came up and he taught me so much baseball in my younger years.
Right.
And he said, "You never come up to the office and talk to me in Dodger Stadium." He
Baseball.
said, "Yeah." He said, "Players like to come by. I like for players to come by and we talk a little baseball." I'm thinking, I got the game to think about, but so I went by because I respected him so much. I went by.
Yeah.
So we sitting there and talking. Al said, "You ever use the delay steal?" I said, "Me? Delay steal, Al?" I said, I'm dominating these guys. The delay steal is a trick steal. I said, straight steal is working for me. I don't need delay steal. He said, "Wait a minute, don't be so brash now. Let me show you how the delay steal goes." So out of respect, I said, "Okay, Al." So he showed me what the delay steal was all about. The pitcher comes in here and he looks, you got a shorter lead, and he's happy and he goes home. But when he goes like that, you see, as a shortstop, I know that when I'm in a shortstop position, when I'm like this, when that pitcher's checking out the runner, as soon as he goes home, I take my eyes off the runner and I focus on the ball going in there.
I get it.
Come off the bat. But until then, I'm looking out the corner of my eye, and I'm looking at, if that guy breaks, I got to go into motion right away.
I get it.
So when he doesn't break, I just relax and look at the flight of the ball going into the hitting zone. He said, delay steal. He said, you take a shorter lead, and as soon as that pitcher goes like, you make sure he goes home, you take a little hop like it's your secondary lead. Then by that time they take the eyes off of you, and by that time that arm is right in here and the ball's just coming out of the pitcher's hands.
Sure.
Then everybody got to focus on the pitch, and that's when you're running. Then they go, oh, there he goes, and then you go over.
And they're not expecting it from you.
Not expecting it, and the catcher does not like to throw to an unoccupied base. He wants that shortstop or the second baseman over there early so he can have somebody to throw at.
I get it.
I said, oh, that's great, man. I don't need that delay steal. And when Jackson threw over there about 15 times in a row and Bill White beating me with that mitt, all of a sudden his voice came to my ear.
Al Campanis.
Al said, delay steal. I said, wow. So what I did was I shortened up a little bit, and Jackson stepped off the mound and said, I got him. I tell him, he
'Cause you shortened up.
shortened up. So now he got back on the mound, and he went like that, and he went to pitch. And as he went to pitch, I delayed, and then as the ball's coming out of his hand, the shortstop, second baseman, all focused on the pitch, and I crossed over and I'm gone. And then, oh, there he goes. And the catcher got a pump because nobody there second. He doesn't want to go throw to an unoccupied base. So, and the ball went into center field. It's amazing. I stole 104 bases, and then at one time I delayed steal. And
Because you went up to some guy's office and
Yeah.
paid him a visit.
Yeah, and I needed it. Yeah, and I was being defiant at the time.
1961 is known as the year of Roger Maris.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be. 1962, forever in baseball history, will be the year of Maury Wills. The little shortstop wins the most valuable player because now a successful change in the style of play led a team to a 3-game playoff. And you had an incredible season, 165 games. You're getting all these awards. You got all these brothers and sisters. You bought a house in Spokane. You spent 8.5 years in the minors. I'm not asking about winning the MVP. That's too easy. That's a question that's been asked dozens of times. I'm asking the internal thoughts. Being on a plane to go get an award, thinking of your father at the shipyard. I'm talking about family. I'm asking a non-baseball question about a baseball award. When you're by yourself in a plane or you're driving a car to these banquets, what are you thinking besides baseball and the MVP?
Great question. Great. I never felt that I never felt that good. I learned early on that I never want to arrive at what I'm doing. I always want to be on the way.
Because then you're a marked man.
Oh yeah, and I stopped learning. See, I'm always trying to get better. I realized early on that the better I got, the better they got. And so I had to continue to get better in order to be on top of them. So what they call that, an impact player.
Sure.
I went to spring training, and after I stole 104 bases, and I was practicing breaks and leads, getting a good jump.
Right.
And the player said, "What are you doing, Wills?" I said, I'm practicing my breaks and leads. He said, "Man, you just stole 104 bases last year." I said, "Yeah, but those guys are better."
Oh, yeah. Every pitch they're looking for you.
Yeah, they're better now. Because the better I got, the better they got. So I have to keep getting better.
Did you steal less because you wanted to preserve your body? Or did you
No.
steal? Why did, before the 90, when you went back into the 90s, there's a couple years there. You're still amazing, don't get me wrong, but you're not why less? It's a good question. Why so many steals, yet it's not that crazy amount? It wasn't to save your body.
No, it wasn't saving my body at all. It was just maybe we didn't need them. Maybe we were a better hitting team. But I do remember in 1965, we were in the World Series against the Twins that year. I stole 90-some bases that year.
94.
I was ahead of my 63 pace.
I know. That's how.
And going down the stretch, maybe the last 3 weeks of the season.
Right.
And I developed a hemorrhage again. I had to back off a little bit. I played when my leg was like this.
Really?
Yeah. Teammates come out and look at it and frown and then keep going. Looked like old hamburger you left out on the front porch for a week.
Because of the wear and tear and beating it up?
Because of the wear and tear and beating up. I have an artificial kneecap right now.
So do I.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's not my real knee.
No, it's not mine either. Welcome.
We're partners.
Ooh, but at least I don't have to. I don't have the range in it anymore. But I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and put ice on it. It doesn't.
Swelling.
It doesn't swell on me. I don't have to have it drained with a big old horse needle.
You said to me before the cameras rolled, that's why I wanted to get to the end of the story. I got those steals. I got the hits. Your fondest memory, 59 is a World Series. 62 is a 3-game playoff. 63 is a World Series. But before these cameras rolled, we were just chatting. You said 65. 65.
Oh, 65, yes.
That's what you said before the cameras were rolling. So if you're going to end something,
Uh-huh.
you're going to end on a high note, my friend.
Yeah. Sandy Koufax and I are best of friends, even to this day. And the reason we got so close was because he was back icing his arm
Right.
and I was icing my leg. And there were times we even got locked into the stadium. We had to find security to get us out of there. So we became good friends. And in the '65 World Series, halfway through the last game, I was chosen for the MVP, and they switched it and gave it to Sandy because he pitched with 2 days rest
Sure.
and came in and won that game. He was as dedicated as anybody himself because he had just pitched 2 game days before.
And it's Game 7, and
Game 7.
they put him back in.
Yeah, and my biggest thrill in all of baseball, biggest thrill. Now we've just discussed a bunch of them.
100
Wait.
steals, 2,000 hits, World
Yeah.
Series victories, 7 All-Star games,
Yes.
2 Gold Gloves.
Yes, #1 professional athlete in the world. Aha,
Hickok.
yeah, a Hickok. That's
I
right.
think you beat a non-baseball player.
I beat the heavyweight champion of the world. I think it was Floyd Patterson. I think maybe Jack Kramer was tennis. Jim Brown was
some
football.
guy named Palmer.
Yeah, and Arnold Palmer. And I see Arnold Palmer to this day. He lets me know that he should have won it.
One vote.
Yeah, and 1 vote, right. But
The
yes,
biggest thrill. Go ahead.
#1 professional athlete in the world.
Yeah. But yet it's not your
No,
biggest
that
thrill.
wasn't it. No, it was, this biggest thrill was when the manager of the Minnesota Twins,
Sam Melly.
yeah, that's right, Mealy, that's right, Sam Mealy.
Yeah.
I read a quote in the paper. He said, "I didn't know Maury Wills was that good a hitter. I didn't realize Maury Wills was that good a hitter." Every baseball player, no matter how many bases you steal, how many pitches, how many games you win as a pitcher, no matter how many Gold Gloves you win or whatever, All-Star games or World Series, to have somebody to compliment you as a hitter, because baseball hitting is what it's all about. And Bobby Brigham gave me that ability to hit.
That's what I was going to say.
And
8.5 years of being in the minors.
yeah.
And in '65,
Sam Mealy said, "I didn't realize Maury Wills was that good
Pop
a
that.
hitter." Yeah,
that's a good answer.
yeah, that made me feel so good.
2015. You end it by, we're in Sedona, Arizona. The game of baseball has changed, yet it's still 90 feet, and it's still that white ball. You're still teaching people like D. Gordon. Say anything you want about D. I mean, back in 1950, there was old players, and then there was a young kid, a young teenager. Now it's 2015, and there's the older guy and the young kid.
Yeah,
It's a great world, man.
it is a great world. D. Gordon, I started mentoring D. Gordon when he was in the minor leagues, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And to this day, he calls me Uncle Maury. And he says, "Yes, sir, no, sir." And when I hear him say, "Yes, sir," young man today say, "Yes, sir, no, sir," to an adult, it takes me back to my childhood. When I was sharing with you my days in the projects in Parkside,
Yeah.
it was to any adult, it was "Yes, sir, no, sir." We don't get that.
Because your mom and pop?
Yes. And you learn that at an early age, unless you get a strap across your back.
Sure.
And I'm happy for those days. And D. Gordon is the only one, and not finding any fault with the youngsters that don't do that, but when I hear that coming from him, I say his daddy did a good job with him.
Yeah, and his dad was a major league pitcher.
That's right, exactly.
Every kid wants this question, especially in the Northeast. My recollection of you as a child was that you were nice to me. That's what I got way before I got here today.
Yeah.
Baseball's recollection for the last 20 years is that this guy, Derek Jeter, has been a nice guy for 20 years, besides being great.
Yes.
At the top of the order, getting on base and scoring runs, being a captain, right? You guys got a lot in common. I don't know if you look at it that way or not, but I'm allowed to look at things my way,
Sure.
right? You watched his career. Now we're both sitting here, and he's retired like you.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Reflect on him, your thoughts on him. He's not a Dodger,
No, I know.
but a lot of similarities to the way he carries himself, the way you've carried yourself.
Yeah. I know I followed his career, and I've shared all those accolades that he's received. And I got to meet him in person one time, be at his presence. And I wish him the best, and I admire him. I'm jealous of him.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you really?
I'm jealous of Derek Jeter, yes.
You mean because he's only 40?
Yeah, because he was so good, and he played the same position I played. Yeah, that's the truth, Derek. If you ever see this.
Captain, shortstop, World Series. Nice guy. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I get what you're coming from. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that he's a real. I know he's a nice guy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's always been a gentleman to me. And by the way, whenever we've gotten to chat a little bit, it's never about baseball.
No.
It's about his high school senior English teacher
Yeah.
back in Michigan. Something of just being real.
Yeah.
I'm not a sports writer. I'm a teacher that's kind of an interviewer, or a teacher that's a writer.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a sports writer. So I have a responsibility to children.
Yeah.
And whenever we see each other again or we talk on the phone, as long as you get the core of me, of course, is baseball, but the core of me is a teacher to children.
Yeah.
And my friend,
I get that.
today,
Yeah.
you were the teacher.
I get that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I mean it.
I hope it was good.
Good?
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay.